welcome to the Mind Body Podcast with your host, me, Maria. This is your rebellion podcast where it is all about a strong body, calm mind, healing, and fully living. And I am thrilled today to have my friend, client, tribe member, Dione Jensen. Dione, how are we going to call you, Di?
I know, it's like D.
That's what we're going to call it today.
Well, you call me D all the time, so just
Yes, I do.
yeah. I mean, I go by D, but Maria calls me D, so I just go by D now.
And I am thrilled to have Dee today because I met Dee, 5 years ago, Dee? 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah, like 4.5, 5 years. Yeah.
Ago. And we started as a client teacher, and I can say friends, teacher, tribe member, as I said. I love Dee because I've really watched your transformation over the past few years, and what a transformation that has been. And we're going to talk more about that. But before we dive into that, tell us about who you are and tell us 3 words that describe you.
Okay, so hi, I'm Dione Jensen. I'm an illustrator, graphic designer, and teacher. And 3 words to describe me are joyful, in tune, and powerful.
I like that. Oh, look at that. Powerful. Shall we talk about your journey? And I'll let you share how we met, because I would say you and I kind of met randomly through Google.
Yeah, we did. So I was laying down on my sofa in so much pain, like my hips were in pain, my joints were in pain. I had discovered that I had Lyme disease. And what happened was that I felt like I couldn't do anything anymore, just laying down. And so I went to Google, and you know how things just reverberate around the universe. Somebody tells you something, and then another person tells you something, and then another one. And they kept telling me, oh, Pilates would be great for you. So I went online. I wrote Pilates near me. And then I found Maria, who was just across the bridge from my exit of 400, of Interstate 400. So I went there. I was so scared though at the beginning. Remember how scared I was just sitting in your sofa?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, and yeah, I sat in your sofa. I was like, I'm so scared that I might hurt myself because remember, I was like 100 pounds by then. I was a skeleton. Like I was just skin and bones because I couldn't eat anything because of the allergies I have developed from Lyme disease. And then my joints hurting from Lyme disease, there was really no mobility. And I was having horrible headaches and panic attacks, anxiety. And then you were like, no, we can go at your speed, and the first lesson, we took it really, really slow, and it was great. Like you made me feel safe, in your lesson. I was like, okay, I can do this. We'll do what I'm feel safe of doing. And you explained to me that it had happened before to other students where they don't have mobility, that they have migraines or like aches after that. And I did it. But the thing is that I kept going. And after a month, the migraines were gone. And I could be more mobile, and it was easier to go up and down the stairs. Oh my gosh, remember how I had to go like up and down your stairs, and I had to like...
Okay, what I thought. Yes, I remember your knees. That's what's coming up to my mind now. Your knees were so swollen and big. And I remember when we spoke on the phone, I asked you if you could take the stairs.
Yeah.
I remember you holding to the rail, one step by step coming down. And I remember this timid young girl sitting on the corner of the sofa, and it's bringing tears to my eyes because I kind of haven't thought about that until now. And to see where you are today versus where you are now, I mean, let's talk about that. My gosh, like it's a different person, talk about your mindset shift, talk about the importance of how, your view on movement changed, because I think you brought up something very important. People who are in pain and who don't feel well, they're very scared to move because they don't want to make it worse, and they think that movement will make it worse, which is a very dangerous place to go, because the more immobile you become, the more dangerous it becomes, and it's like a vicious cycle, right?
It is. It is.
So
Yeah, sorry. Oh, yeah, I agree. I didn't want to move because I was afraid I was going to hurt myself. Maybe like something would get out of place. But the more I moved, the better I got, because then the blood was flowing, toxins were being pushed out of my body because I was sweating them out. And sweating is such an important part of the body. And I didn't realize that before, right? Like just by talking with you, by talking to my holistic doctors, I found that if you do movement, if you even do the sauna, if you're too weak to do movement, if you do the sauna and you start pushing stuff out, uh, you will go for like a little bit of oh, what's that little toxic thing, like when there's too many toxins in the blood because you're trying to push them out too fast.
oh yes,
A Herx reaction, but it's just part of the process of your body just pushing stuff out until it cleans those channels, and then you start feeling better. So it will feel like suddenly you're going down, but the thing is that you just, as long as you keep going this way, even with the waves, you're going to keep getting better.
yeah. And I'm gonna just jump in really quickly, the circulation, I tell people, if you're not moving, your body becomes kind of like a swamp. When there is stagnation, there is no energy, everything is just blah. And I ask people, is that the environment you think you're going to thrive in, right? But
Exactly.
keep going.
No,
Give me.
and that doesn't help your brain either. I mean, I was having those panic attacks, like when I would wake up, I would suddenly be in a state of panic, like I'm trying to run away from something. And it's because those toxins were just stuck everywhere. So my brain was not able to function well. And the brain and the gut is such a huge connection, because also in my gut, it was being covered by candida, right? So I couldn't absorb the nutrients to feed my brain. So it was a two thing. Like I needed to focus
Was
on my.
really a vicious cycle
Yeah.
of, that the only thing really could pull you out was a change of lifestyle, right?
Yes. Yes.
And
Nutrition and movement.
over the past few years, you have really upgraded your lifestyle. I mean, where you started and where you're now is two very completely places. But I think along with that, what has happened is, let's talk about how that mindset, physical transformations have translated into your life.
Yes. So I had to start first with my brain, right? I had to start with changing my thought process. It's like, I can do this. I need to change my lifestyle now in order for me to get better. So I had to do a radical change in feeding my brain with positive ideas. And that's watching anything that is happy, that will produce happy vibes in you. It can be listening to music, movies, and reading books. And actually, this book is amazing, from Florence Scovel Sheen. When I would get down on myself thinking, I cannot do this, I cannot do this, this is too difficult for me, I would just randomly open it on a page to find out a message, from the universe telling me that I can keep going. So I did that. I changed my diet because I had to believe that there was a way out of it, and I had to give it a try. And at first I was like, I don't believe in this, but then it started working. I switched my diet. I stopped eating dairy. I stopped eating carbs. No gluten, no tomatoes. Like, it was so radical that I was only eating raw veggies, which I don't recommend for a long time, but that will clear your gut to start incorporating new items. Suddenly you can eat eggs, and you can eat, fish, and then chicken. So I did that for like 3 years until I could finally eat cheese. I know, it's so
I
crazy.
actually remember that when you had cheese at one of your Christmas parties, you're like, I will have cheese at my party. And that was a big deal, right? And I think what he's referring to is like the elimination type diets that are done, right? To where you cleanse your body, you give it a reset, and then you start introducing foods. And that's something you can, people who have medical conditions, just make sure you follow up with your doctors, right? We're not providing any kind of medical advice here. We're just sharing something that has worked for D.
Yeah.
and for probably a lot more people, but just know that, work with your healthcare practitioner on your journey and whatever changes you're making. So I just have to throw this in there.
Yes, yes, good. And I do want to add that with the exchanging of thoughts, I also had to open up myself to new ideas. Maria kept telling me, "Hey, need to go see a pelvic floor specialist." And I'm like, "What?"
Wait, for how long has Maria been saying that? Let's just clarify that.
4 or 5 years.
And when did you start seeing a pelvic floor specialist?
Only this year.
So the point I'm making, that it's funny, right? But the point is, it does take a mindset shift to be convinced of something. And I always tell people, I will not make you go see somebody because I cannot. All I can do is give it to you and tell you why. And then you're going to do it when you're ready for it, right?
Yes,
And
and yes.
you're ready for it. And how has that worked out?
I'm sitting down. Like, yeah, people haven't seen me before, so they will not realize how important this is for me. I'm sitting down. Like before, I couldn't even sit down for more than 5 seconds without my hip being in pain. And now I could sit for 5 hours straight. And yes, it will still bother me a bit, but it's such a huge change from before where I couldn't even sit and I would be crying because I couldn't sit. I couldn't go to restaurants. I mean, that affected my entire lifestyle. Um, like what Lyme disease did to me, like I couldn't go to restaurants, I couldn't go traveling.
The
Um,
change affected your life.
yes, I was stuck in the house. I was just stuck in the house with no life. But I just kept believing that it was possible. That's what was the big change in my mind. You know, I had to believe that it was possible. I could no longer stay in a mindset where I was like, this is terrible and it's the end, you know?
And I'm glad you bring this up, Dee, because I think in your case, it was a case of urgency, right? You
Yeah.
were so down that it was like, there's gotta be something to pull me up, right? And
Yes.
that's when you become more open to seeking alternative things that, you're like, Pilates, how is Pilates gonna help me that pelvic floor? Like, how is that, But the more you open up and the more receptive you become, and I think very importantly, you said it, when you start feeling the difference, you're like, look at that, right? But
Yes.
it's also important to create the awareness of, do you really want to get to that point of, of reactiveness versus
Mhm.
activeness? And I think that's part of my mission, right? Is to get people to realize how important your state of being, your well-being is, right? So that you're not stuck in the house. Because when you don't feel well, when this is not feeling well, when your body's not feeling well, you cannot live the life that you want.
Yeah. And look at me now. I've been to Napa. I'm going to go to DC
You're walking.
and New York. I've been walking. I've been even like been drinking wine. Like I couldn't even do that before. Like my stomach is stronger, my mind is so much stronger, and I'm feeling, and that's why your my three words were like powerful. Like I feel powerful. I feel like I can do things, and I feel like I can just open myself to the wonders of the world again. Like I want to do, yeah,
Yeah.
I want to enjoy everything now. So I want to do all the traveling. I want to do all the eating, especially sushi. So I'm just ready to live life, and I've started living it. And I know with the pandemic, it was very difficult for everybody, and it was interesting. I felt like they had joined, what I was going through of like being stuck at the house, and also that fear of missing out. I used to have it, and then like everybody was in my situation where they were all stuck in the house for like a year, 2 years. And I love how now people are appreciating it more, everything that we have. And that's a big thing, appreciation.
Yes. Gratitude,
Yeah.
appreciation, positivity. Yes.
That has helped me out so much because when everything was going wrong, it's like, okay, what am I thankful for? Even if my skin is reacting to the sun, even if my eyes are getting blurry, what am I thankful for? And it's like, okay, I'm thankful that my husband is supportive. I'm thankful that I can still eat. I'm thankful that I can still see colors.
You can
And
still breathe, your heart is breathing, I mean, beating.
exactly, I can breathe by myself still. I
Yeah.
mean, there's just so many things, and that made me keep going till the next day and the next day until now. It's like, I'm thankful that I'm going on trips, and I'm thankful that I can eat sushi and I can eat cheese, and I'm thankful for having amazing friends that stood by my side while I was going through all of this. Like, I mean, how amazing is that? I mean,
I'm so glad you're bringing this because this has come up as a topic in every episode, and it's the power of the tribe and the people we surround ourselves with. So let's hear your perspective on the importance of those who are around you through this journey. Your journey was, I would say, challenging, because I think health challenges are some of the most difficult ones to deal with, right?
yes, I'm most thankful for my husband and my mom. So like I didn't know about that I had Lyme for 2 years. I was undiagnosed, and I was going through all these changes, crazy changes. And I felt like I was losing my mind because suddenly my body's not working. And I was going through very desperate times. And my husband just stayed with me through everything. I was like, don't worry, we'll figure it out. Everything is going to be okay. And he just kept being so supportive. He never was like, I'm done. I cannot deal with this. Never, ever did it ever cross his mind. And he was just such a pillar. And I mean, he was there even though like he was working. And if he was too busy working, we tried to find another solution where I could still be cared for. So I went down to Peru to be with my mom for 2 months to find out, how to help my body. And my mom, I mean, she's a mom, she loves you unconditionally. And she like we went to this like mini stays at a holistic a medicinal kind of resort.
Yeah.
Yeah. And where they eat very clean, and it's about massages and it's about saunas. And we did that, and that actually made us bond so much, like talking, like getting to know my mom as the woman.
Mhm.
Yeah, I only knew my mom as my mom. But these trips made me be able to discover her as the woman that she was. And she's no longer with us, my mom and dad. And I think that things happen for a reason. Like I have to think that. So I just can't, keep seeing the positive. But they passed away because of COVID last year. But if I wouldn't have had Lyme, I wouldn't have gone to Peru that often. I wouldn't have spent Yeah, I wouldn't have spent time with my mom and my dad getting to know them again as the people that they are. And I would have missed out on that. Like so I believe that the universe works in mysterious ways, and thanks to me getting sick, I was able to just be with them and share stuff and heal so much because there were so many things that I had not forgiven them like when I was a kid, and my mom told me, I'm so sorry that I didn't see that. I'm so sorry that I didn't hear that. I wish I would have been stronger for you. And when she said that, it's like this huge weight was lifted off of me. And that also helped my healing, just healing all those traumas, just the forgiveness, the love. It helped my healing, even it boosted my healing. And that's been my path from since then. It's just going through the emotional healing, going through the spiritual healing, because it's all connected to your body.
Absolutely. And there's so many great points that you bring, Dee, when we talk about healing, and again, your situation and your growth path really was inspired by urgency and sickness and disease. Um, but to your point, had you not done that, your lifestyle would not have changed likely, right? And the
Yeah.
experiences, which not all of them were fun, they
Mm-mm.
brought you to who you are today and where you are today in life. And sometimes life, the universe, God, whatever your belief is, has ways that in the short term we don't understand. They're hard to understand, but long term, they take us to places that, you know, my story is different than yours, but I can attest they take us to places that we've never really had the capacity to envision, right?
Ah, I mean, look at you now. You left the finance world, and now you're this amazing Pilates rebel leader.
Baby. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, but it's life takes us to ways, and a lot of our growth, the path to getting here hasn't, let's talk about that, has not been all comfortable. I mean, right? We talked about the health issues that you've dealt with, you've talked about the isolation that you've been in, your mental state was down. I mean, I think when I met you, you were not doing so well mentally as well, right?
I wasn't. I was suffering from depression and I didn't even know I was suffering from depression, the panic attack, the anxiety. In order for me to formulate a sentence, I had to really focus on it because there were so many thoughts going through my brain all the time. I was not able to be able to think in one direction, in one lane. So for me to communicate, it took a lot of work. It's like my brain was no longer functioning. Um, and it was just the body. The body was screaming constantly. So in order to shut down that, well, I couldn't really shut it down, but I had to concentrate and my words were merging. So I had to open myself to new techniques, new help. I went to see naturopathic doctors, holistic doctors that told me, okay, we can try this supplement that will help you boost your brain and help you out. It wasn't working. And one of my doctors actually mentioned, why don't you actually see a psychologist, a psychiatrist, somebody that can give you medicine to actually work with the depression. And I ended up seeing a doctor that gave me Lexapro in the smallest because I was very scared of putting chemicals in my body because I didn't know how my body was going to react. But again, I had to open my mind and be like, I need to try it at least to see if it's going to work or not. So they gave me like 5 milligrams, and then the panic attacks were gone. So it just gave that little boost. But it's really about just like opening the door, right? Not letting fear control you and trying things out so you can see something different. If you keep trying the same thing, nothing is going to change.
And, you know, I think what you're bringing up is a very important point, because mental health and depression and anxiety attacks, you know, for many people are something that they keep a secret because it's uncomfortable to talk about them. And what are people going to think? And how are people going to judge me, right? There is stigma associated with that. And I think it is, especially nowadays with mental health issues on the rise, it is so important to create awareness of, if you don't feel well, seek help, right?
Exactly. And you know, the more I talked about it, the more of my friends opened up and saying, like, I do that too. I do that too. And I was like, wait, there's so many of us. So the fact that so many of us are going through that makes me think that there is something out there in common that is causing all of this stress. And I think it's just the overworking, the stress of,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, every day, and also no movement because you're stuck in a chair all day. And then the food, if you're eating fast food, if you're eating just fried stuff, it's going to slow you down and just not make you.
Chemicals that are all around us. And yeah, and you know, another great point you're bringing up is being vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
Sharing what you have gone through, because you sometimes we feel like we're the only one who is going through something. And when you open up, you almost give permission to those around you to say, oh my gosh, I feel the same way. Like some of the mindset sessions where somebody would say, let's say as an example, I feel like the worst mom because of something. And I would say, so how many mother moms are there in here that have felt the same way? And like all the hands go up, and there is like, oh, wow. Like, right? You certainly feel normal and not the exception of something is wrong with me. And it's okay to share that. And
Yeah.
it's okay to empower, like what you're doing right now. You mentioned you feel powerful. through sharing your story and your vulnerability and where you were, you're empowering others to say, you know what, I need help too. And it's okay to ask for help, right? Rather than
Yes.
stay home and not feel well and just allow the days to go day by day without truly living.
Yes, I think that we live in a time where we just don't want to share what is going, even though there's social media and we're sharing everything, we're only sharing the positive stuff, but we're not sharing all the struggles that we're going through, and everybody's struggling. Like if we see social media, it's like everybody is like so happy and having the time of their lives, but in reality, it's like that is just a second of the life where they're going through, maybe they lost their job, maybe they're going through a breakup, maybe they lost a family member, maybe they lost a pet, and pets are our family.
Yeah.
So I think that if we open up, if we talk to our friends really about what is going on, and not even our friends, just people that we just met, sometimes you just feel comfortable with people that you just met, and you're,
I think that goes back to the tribe, you know.
yeah.
Sometimes you're attracted to people when you find, just like, you know, I consider you part of my tribe because we share stuff, right? When I see you for
Ooh.
sessions, we start with how are you doing, what's going on, right? And it's authentic and it's
Yes.
real and it's down to earth. A client yesterday made a comment. She said, oh, she's like, and you've got all of us complaining to you. And I said, well, I don't really see it as complaining, right? Complaining is when you're not doing anything about it and you're just complaining about the same thing over and over. When
Yeah.
you're taking action to change things in your lives, that's empowering. Because
Yes.
we all have things that we're working through, right? And maybe in different aspects, maybe different areas in our life, and maybe the depth of whatever we're dealing with is different, but we all have things that in our daily life we're dealing with that
Yes.
are comfortable or challenging or whatever you want to call them. And having the people to say, hey, I'm having a crappy day today, and not being worried about how are they going to judge me, how are they going to perceive it, what are they going to think about me. That's a safe space, right?
Yes, and I also think that if you change your mindset, you change your frequency, and then you start attracting people that vibrate at your same frequency. I mean, the more I changed, the more this, like, the more I changed my frequency and my mindset, the more I attracted other people with the similar thoughts. I mean, you appeared in my life, Dr. Guy appeared in my life. Um, so many friends that are creative appeared in my life, and it's just so comfortable. It's so zen, to suddenly be surrounded by these people.
Empowering to be surrounded by people like that, right?
Yes, and the thing is that the change has to come within you. You cannot just wait for them to appear.
Make
Like,
it for you. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you changed your setting from finance to Pilates. You opened the gate for all of this to happen. And I changed from accounting
Yes.
to design, and suddenly I'm surrounded by all these amazing creative people that just want to improve the world through their creativity. So if we don't change our mindsets, nothing is going to change. If we don't change our frequency, we're not going to attract what we really want. So it really starts from within yourself, oneself.
And Dia, do you want to talk about that? Because that's kind of like the perfect transition. You know, I look at you as somebody so incredibly creative and talented. And I have seen the transformation in your work as you have gone through this journey. And I've also seen the way you're open about what you work and what you're doing, and owning your talent and letting the world see your talent, which has been so empowering for me. Talk about the transition of where you were to where you are and how that has impacted your creativity, really your authenticity, right? Because your work is a reflection of who you are.
Yes. So as a child, I was very artistic. I had music lessons, artistic art lessons. And then I was told that, oh, yeah, now you have graduated high school, you're coming to the real world, you need to get a real job. So I ended up becoming an accountant. And I did that. I know, I did that for 4 years. And one day I woke up and I was like, I cannot go to the office. I can't go to the office.
You're quicker than I was. 4 years.
So yeah, and then I talked to my husband who was my boyfriend at the time, It's like, I can't do this. Like, I think I need to switch careers. And he's like, if that's what you need to do, then do it. So I did. I went back to school. I graduated in 2 years, and it was very scary, like taking the leap, because I was like, I have a good job. I'm getting this.
Stable paycheck.
Yeah, exactly. It was so safe, like I was miserable, but it was safe.
Well, it's perceived safety, right? Because that's what
Exactly.
you thought it's safe. Yeah.
Exactly. And there's really no safety. I mean, they can fire you the next day. So it's really just a mindset of like, oh, that's what I consider safe back then. Um, so I entered this new universe of creativeness and met new friends. And now I'm actually working for myself, which is amazing. Thank you.
Yeah. And you own it, I have seen a huge change in, like, I'm a creative to like, I am a creative and this is what I do and this is what I want. And, this is what I want for my life, and owning it and believing it and taking action to move towards that. Right.
And that's the change in the mindset. Before I was like, oh, I don't want anybody to look at my work yet until it's perfect. And perfection is such a deadly thing because it kills your dreams. It also kills your creativity. Um, so now I'm more like, you know what? This feels right. I'm going to release it into the world. If people don't love it, fine. If people love it, great. But this is just me now
Your
expressing
path.
myself.
Yeah.
Yes. And I had to change my thought process there, where it's like, it's a part of me. So it's already perfect. It's already great. It's already loved. Nobody has to give me that approval
Approval. Yes.
that it's good, that it's great. Um, that's also part of learning how to love yourself. If you love yourself, you
A
start loving.
mindset shift. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a huge shift. And before I was like, oh no, I don't want anybody to see it, because I didn't know how to love myself. I didn't know how to appreciate my gifts. And now I'm dreaming big. It's like, oh, I would love for my work to be in museums. I would love for my work to be everywhere around the world. And the thing is that if you don't believe it, then it's not going to happen. If you dream it, then it will create kind of like a gateway for you to achieve it. You just need to create the steps to get there, just create a plan.
Action.
Yeah, but the main thing is to have the dream first.
Yeah.
And
What do you want? You know what? That's what we always say. What do you want? And
yes,
some people are like, well, I can't want that because, and it's like,
why not?
what do you want? And then that's when the real work starts, right? Like you gotta dig deep inside to what do you want. I am so surprised when I tell people, what do you want? And it's like, what do you mean? What do I want? Well, I have responsibilities and I have a family and it's like, okay, what do you want? Well, I can't, like, it's like all of these reasons and excuses and barriers that we set for ourselves versus just answer the question, what do you want?
Yeah,
And own it. That's what I want. And if somebody wants to judge it, let them judge it. It's like, I tell people, like, maybe I've said it to you, it's none of your business what other people think. Like, that's their opinion, right? What do you want and what feels right and aligned to you? And that's what our power lies in.
yes. I agree. Like, if you don't know what you want, then you're just going to go in circles and you're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's like thinking about, what do you want without the fear? Like, just say what you want without any fear. You can just think about the excuses later on, but just tell us, what exactly do you want? Because then you can build those little steps to achieve it. It's like, oh, I could move this out of the way and this and this. And then suddenly you're almost halfway there.
Yes.
Yeah.
You tell us, what is your definition of rebellious?
Rebellious is believing in yourself.
I love
That,
that.
yeah, that is because in this time and place, like we're so, well, no longer me. I used to be that person. Just so busy in the cycle, in the rat race of like, oh, I need to achieve being partner in a firm or anything like that. So that just really blocks it, and then you don't focus on yourself. But then if you actually look at yourself, you believe in yourself, what you can do, that is a rebellious act. You are creating a movement in your own story that you can create anything that you want.
I love it. I love it. Oh, well said. You nailed it. That's great, believing in yourself. And if you could give somebody one piece of advice, what would that be?
Work on your mindset. That's the key. If you change your thought process, if you change your thoughts, great things will come to you. We have been born, with certain experiences. We only know what we have experienced. But if we just look deep within ourselves and connect to that higher version of ourselves, we can just, get there and focus on ourselves and improve ourselves.
Yeah. And be that higher version of ourselves that we're meant to be, right?
Yes, yes.
Very good. Dee, to wrap up, what kind of problems do you solve for people through what you do?
So I am more of a channeler. Like, as a graphic designer, yes, I can create beautiful things. I can draw pretty, but that's not just graphic design without it serving the person. Graphic design for me, or actually not just graphic design, just being a creative is about serving people by giving them the chance of bringing their desires and their thoughts, giving them to me, and then I will express them visually for them. I will channel their feelings, their spirit into whatever visual item they want to put out into the world.
Love it. So there is more depth to it.
Yes, yes, it's all about the story. It's all about connecting humans through this story that is told visually. And I am just a little channel, I'm just a little channeler of their ideas, their hopes, their dreams.
I love that. And Dee, how can people find you or check out your work?
Yes, they can go to Instagram at Creative Dio, or my website, diojensen.com.
Awesome. I appreciate you, Dio. Thank you so much for taking the time. It is such a privilege to have you here. Such a privilege to have you as part of my tribe, as a client, as a friend. Gosh, I always want to start crying, but like really your friendship, your trust in me, our bond means so much to me. And I love you and I wish you only the best. And thank you for sharing your story with vulnerability. I actually didn't think about this today, but I remember years ago when I asked you if you would share your story with others and you said you could not do it.
Oh my God.
And you don't remember that?
I do remember that.
And now as you started speaking, I had this flashback of like, oh my gosh, like we have actually talked about this and you're actually sharing your story with a smile and bravery and courage. And I applaud you for that because that's just part of your growth. And it's just a tremendous privilege to be in your circle. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, my dear. I love you so much. I wouldn't have been able to be in this timeline, in this part of my life without you. You have played such a huge role in getting me here, and your support, your belief in me, and just you always listening to what I had to say, what I needed to share. Like you were a rock for me. Like you are a rock for me, where when I go, it's like, oh, Maria, I need to tell you this.
It's
So,
been a privilege. Thank you. I appreciate the trust. It means a lot. So if you guys have any questions for Dione, please ask them. She is an amazing spirit and look forward to seeing what the next steps are.
yes.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Thank you, Dee. Sending you love. Have a rebellious day, everybody.
Thank you, my dear.
Can't get enough of those rebellious conversations? Do make sure you subscribe, like, and share with your friends.